like that. We want to announce the winners of that. We also want to announce a couple of events that we got coming up. But the main thing we want to talk about is going to come down to respect. And we're going to talk about a little bit of the way most people see respect, which in my opinion is a little bit dangerous. And then we're going to talk about other ways that you can look at respect and a little bit differently than maybe you were brought up with and stuff along those lines. So I'm not going to do the announcements of who wins the cash first because that's just cheesy.
It is, and people might get off the video.
People might jump off. So by the way, Mr. Rose, this is whatever she wants to go by today. And that back there is Mr. Moeller, our level 2 and 3 instructor.
And Nana's off screen.
Nana's over there. Nana, you going to come join us? I have 3 screens going. We need at least 4 people, right? All right, so we'll start with the first announcement. We have an event coming up. It's our free kids self-defense and active protection workshop. We put 2 or 3 of these on a year, but since it's back to school time, this is as good a time as any. This is a great free event to anyone, open to anyone in the community who may not otherwise get any kind of training when it comes to dealing with bullying, strangers, even a little bit on hygiene and active protection, as in how to avoid situations, how to keep yourself from being put in tough situations to start with, by using your awareness and respect, for that matter, which we're going to be talking about in a little bit. So that's going to be a 2-hour workshop. This right here, she will be, her and Miss Tasha teach the 5 to, how old? 5 to 7?
5 to 7.
5 to 7. This guy back here and that lady over there, they do the 8 to 12-year-olds in that. So it's going to be a great time. We always make sure we have a lot of fun, right? There's no point, people don't retain things if it's not fun. So we make sure that we play games with the techniques, we play games with the concepts, so they get to role play some things out and actually see how these things can work real. And when is that event, Miss Rose?
August 27th.
August 27th from...
We're doing
1 to 3? 1 to 3 p.m. I think. It's a Saturday, 1 to 3 p.m. All right. Do we want to go ahead and do our announcements? Who gets the cash then?
No, they can wait till the end.
They can wait till the end. All right. So I guess... Wow. Okay. She's mean.
Nana would have said it.
Nana would have said it. You're right. All right. So I guess I'll start off. I wanted to talk about respect a little bit. Now, a lot of us, when we learn words as kids, we learn them based off of how they are used in context towards us. And a lot of people take, which is really actually the first definition it's not wrong, it's the first definition in most dictionaries of respect. And they think of all respect meaning that. They don't realize that there's other definitions, right? So one of the definitions of respect, and in my opinion, this is the most dangerous one, is to hold something or someone to a high esteem. Now, a lot of people always heard about martial arts. That's great for teaching kids respect and this, that, and the other. Not that kind of respect. That's not the kind of respect we're talking about, right? Holding someone in high esteem can end up being a dangerous and bad situation for both parties involved. I've been on both ends of that, right? I've had idols that I looked up to, that, I respected to a great degree because of what they've done with their career and their history and everything. And I've met a couple of those idols and then found out that our philosophies and beliefs in life are completely different from each other. Hi, Miss Katie, on, that's TikTok, right?
Yeah.
That was TikTok, yeah.
That was, right is TikTok, left is Instagram.
Right is TikTok, left is Instagram. Yeah, this is messing with me. I need things everywhere, right? So... And honestly, I lost all respect for that guy because of the way he treated me. He was telling me that I needed to do things a certain way, and I had to do things his way, and it was the only way to make it. And then when I tried to give my side of the situation of how I wanted to run my business, because he was trying to mentor me in business, and I talked about how I wanted to run my business and the kind of things I wanted to be known for, I was told I would never be successful, and he turned very aggravated and frustrated. On the flip side of that, being a martial arts instructor, I've also been that person that someone held in a super high level of esteem. And I really try to not let people see me that way. I want people to see me as human. And so I make mistakes in front of my students. I get beat in front of my students. I mess stuff up and willingly admit to it right in front of everybody, because I want everybody to understand that there's no point of perfection, right? That we're all, even your instructors have instructors, and we're all on different parts of the road, right, to get better and better and better. So, and some of those times when I've had someone really, really look up to me, and then there's some kind of personal interaction that shows them that maybe I'm not all that they thought I was, right? Maybe I lose my temper a little bit, get frustrated. Maybe I lose my patience one time, even just a little bit, and then all of a sudden they lose that respect for me because they had me on this high table of esteem as if like, well, this must be a person who never loses their patience and never this and never that. But fact of the matter is we're all human. So the most dangerous aspect of the most dangerous definition of respect is to hold someone to a higher esteem. In all reality, hold everyone to equal esteem, right? Yourself included. Everyone on equal esteem. We all just have different sets of skills and different ways to go about things. This is one of the reasons that our leadership team, our instructors right here, we don't have a typical hierarchy of instruction.
He's in front.
No, I'm not.
He's closer to all the cameras.
We don't, I just talk the most. We don't have a typical hierarchy of instruction or anything like that, but we all have different skills that are more valuable in different places, right? And we all, I was talking to a web guy the other day, and I was saying, look, I don't make unilateral decisions just because my name's on the ownership paperwork, right? I don't make unilateral decisions. I run it through everybody first and see what their thoughts are on different things. So in my opinion, that's the most dangerous aspect to respect. But you guys have anything you want to say about that, add to that? Otherwise, like any stories you got about someone holding you to a higher level than you felt like you could live up to, or vice versa? Maybe you holding someone up to a high level and then realizing, oh, they're human. You're about to tell a story about me, aren't you, Mr. Muller?
No, not at all. I try to think of everyone as human.
Yeah, and you know that's the thing, and I talk to my beginner classes about it too, that treating people with respect is treating them like a human being. Like, no one should have to beg to be treated normally.
Right, and I always talk about the way they need to be treated. Mm-hmm. I like that versus the way they want to be treated because, you know, someone can take that too far and really push you to treat them in an unfair way, right? But the way that they need to be treated, and we all know sometimes someone around us, a friend, a family member, gets a little full of themselves, starts making mistakes, and sometimes they need someone to be real with them, to sit down and go, look, you're making mistakes, and this is going to lead to some messed up situations, you know, and try to play that what they call that baseline tone, that neutral tone. Like, so I have bipolar disorder, and the main goal when you're going through working with bipolar disorder is balance in all things, which is the main philosophy in our art, right? Balance in all things. And it's the same kind of thing, you know, people swing, and everybody's got swings. They get a little overconfident, get a little underconfident, self-esteem issues or whatever, and treating them the way they need to be treated is sometimes also sitting them down and going, hey, you're letting fear get the better of you, or hey, you might be overestimating your knowledge about this right now, you know, and you might need to tone that down a little bit, right? So yeah, coming back to balance in all things. Anyway, you were talking. I'm sorry.
That's fine. You covered everything.
I covered everything?
You did.
All right. So let's talk about a couple of different ways we can look at respect that are also definitions. And these are the healthier ways to look at respect, in my opinion. And these are also definitions you can find in different dictionaries. The first one I like to look at is, I talk to my littles about this a lot, or my littles are 7, 8, 9. But, you know, she's got the little. She might do this different. But so I like to talk about paying special attention to something, such as we play a game where I have them say, respect the threat. I promise I will respect the threat. And the concept is to pay special attention to something. This is also a concept of respect, right? So I don't have to like spiders. Like, I can be even afraid or just really not like spiders, but I can also respect them in a way that I pay special attention to them, because I know some of them can make you sick. Some of them are venomous. Some of them, you know, can cause you real problems. And so when spiders are around, I can pay special attention to them. That is another way of showing respect, paying special attention to something, either due to it being dangerous or maybe it needs handled carefully, right? This is another way that we can use respect. Am I good? Like,
Yes.
you guys got an example of that you want to throw out there?
Respecting the things around you.
Respecting the things around you, paying special attention to them, right? Like, video games are a big thing these days, right? But consoles are super expensive. PC gaming setups, oh my goodness, they're out there. So, like, another thing would be, you know, again, that comes back to treating things the way they need to be treated. But, you know, paying special attention when you're around it or when you're playing it. Like, I know a controller for a PS5 is like, what, 60, 80 bucks, you know? And if you were to, say, be playing a game and lose your temper and throw that controller across the room and break it, that's 60, 80 bucks down the drain, right? But you can pay special attention to how you treat that controller, how you treat that console, how you treat the things around you. Now, this is a good way to help with depression too, and it doesn't fix depression, but it does help. which is to take a look around and all the things about your house that are bothering you, all the little pieces of clutter, all the little things like that. Just pick up one thing at a time. Just go around and pay special attention to the things that are bothering you and try to fix one of them at a time so it feels better, so it looks better. And you'd be amazed how that helps. And that's another form of respect. And that's also another form of self-respect, right? Taking care of the things around you so that you can feel better, right? So really just comes back to that definition of what was the definition I was working on? Paying special attention to something. So with my kids, we play this game where we toss a ball towards them, and right as the ball leaves our hands, we charge at them with a pad. Now, obviously, the pad that we're charging at them with is the most threatening aspect of this. The ball's not that threatening. So it's a coordination game where they're going to try to catch the ball and kick the pad. But the big rule here is that if you miss the ball or if you have to look for the ball to catch it, the rule is don't take your eyes off the pad. Pay special attention to the threat, or in other words, respect the threatening part, right? And we talk about like the ball going across the street example. So, if you lose your ball across the street, you wouldn't want to immediately chase after the ball. You need to stop and look for the threats first, or even go get help if you're young. But stop and look for the threats before you go get your ball. Look for cars going both directions, things like that. Guys, that's still respect. That is still a version of respect. That is still what within the bounds of what respect means. I'd love for one of you guys to add something in so I can get a drink.
Well, I mean, like I was going to, and then you.
Good, do it.
Okay. So with paying special attention, you were talking about the spider and whatnot. You don't have to like someone or something to show it respect. Yeah. Respect is a baseline of your behavior towards somebody else, and it's a direct reflection of your integrity. So if you choose to be mean to things that you don't like, or you choose to ignore the things that you don't like, then you are not giving a good baseline of your character, because that can spill over into the things that you do like and the people that you do like. So I kind of have a live and let live policy. And
how you act towards others is not about their character. It's about your own, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So a lot of people are like, well, I'm not going to give any respect to somebody who's lost my respect. Well, that's fine, and I'm not saying you necessarily have to give them special attention or anything or be friends with them. But do be aware that the way you act towards them in situations where you have to deal with them, like maybe you lost, maybe someone's been a complete jerk to you, and so you don't want to show any respect to them. But remember that when you're around them and you have to deal with them, the way you treat them is your character. That's how other people view your character. So if you don't want to give them any respect because they disrespected you, bear in mind that now to any onlookers, you both look like a couple of jerks, right? You both look disrespectful. You both look like you have your weak character. But if one of you can still manage to stay respectful, even though the other person's not, whatever, then you look like you took the high road. You look like the person with the strong character. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you think about, we're in combat sports, right? We're kind of in combat sports. Do you really think every two MMA fighters that get in the cage like each other? Oh, there's some that like each other, train together, and are friends, but not all of them. Not all of them. And, there's always all the trash talk and disrespectful talk. I've seen behind the scenes of some of this. Most of it, not all of it, but most of it is completely staged to sell tickets to y'all who are all super into drama. That's just like WWE and WCW. That part is pretty much staged to sell tickets, right? But sometimes you get a couple of fighters who really don't like each other, and they'll be disrespectful verbally. But you watch those two get in the ring, and I guarantee you they're going to be paying special attention to the other person's strengths. They're going to be paying a lot of respect to avoiding something the other person does well. So if the other person's got a great left hook, you better believe that person is going to have a lot of respect for that left hook and be trying to pay special attention for when it's coming and stay away from it and stop that left hook. That is still respect. That is still a version of respect. You're respecting the skill that other person has and how they could use that skill against you.
Yeah. And to that point, since we're talking about the fact that we are in combat sports, and as a woman, I know people would say, oh, especially if they know me, like, oh, of course she would say that. But I highly dislike when somebody says, oh, I don't want to hit them, they're a girl. Quite honestly, I highly respect the fact that all of the men that I train with respect me enough to hit me when I'm open.
Right. But at the same time, when we're training, we shouldn't be hitting each other hard anyway. No, it should just be light taps, so it shouldn't matter.
Yeah, no, it shouldn't matter. But, we come into contact with so many people who go, oh, well, I don't want to hit this girl that I'm training with, and they won't even make contact.
Yeah, so they won't even give a tap. But without that tap, how does she know it was there, right? If I'm always doing this, she might not have seen it. So she may not even realize that she was open or that something was wrong there. But that little tap, just enough to let her know it was there, that lets her know, I left myself open right there, right?
You know, if I have training partners who don't respect me enough to want to help me be able to be safe, then I'm not going to get better. I'm not going to actually be safe in any situation.
Yeah, not until we can learn to figure out where our openings are first. Like, and that's the thing. And I know most MMA fighters train this way too. I've been in the trainings of a few different MMA fighters and participated. And a lot of people think that they just train fighting hardcore. They don't. There's one occasion that they do, and I'll explain that in a second. But what they generally do is the same kind of sparring we do: light tap for tactics, fast but light. And then they train the hard techniques and combinations on bags, pads, and then occasionally they will get a sparring partner, who will be loaded up with protective gear. And then that person will be practicing their techniques more tactically, but with a lot more power. But that person is fully loaded up in gear so that they stay mostly safe throughout that match. And they usually don't do that very often because you can't risk, if you're a fighter professionally, you can't risk injuring yourself training. If you're injured in training by one of your sparring partners, or someone clipped you a little hard and it cracked your cheekbone or something like that, and you can't fight, you don't make money. And if you're not making money and you have to back out of a fight, then how long you think that league is going to keep you? Those leagues, man, it's a really cutthroat sport. Those leagues aren't going to keep you if you can't keep fighting. So you have to be very, very cautious to not get injured in any of your training. And these guys are. I mean, they're very, very cautious to not get injured in their training for that exact reason.
But that comes down to the same level of respect that I was talking about.
Yeah.
You know, their training partners respect them enough to not injure them while they're training. And,
Yeah.
you know, I have a really amazing team that, you know, and I know Nana and Tasha, like half the team are women,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I think we are so extremely lucky to have teammates that are willing to push us when we need to be
Yeah.
pushed, and to not baby us just because we're women.
Yeah, I have different level of contacts levels of contact for different things, but honestly, I don't hit in sparring, practice sparring. I don't hit men any different than I hit women. Right? I go a little harder if I'm going low to the legs, because there, you know, you kind of want to get bruised from time to time. It's going to help you condition against those strikes. Same with forearms. But when it comes to body shots and head shots, I'm going to tap enough that it's going to make you go, ugh, you know. But it's not going to hurt you. It's not going to knock the wind out of you unless you just happen to be breathing at the wrong time or something like that.
You say conditioning, and Nana and I start checking
Yeah,
our
that
forearms
y'all
from
got
this
bruises
weekend.
from this weekend's trainings. Yeah. So Brandy said, limited contact, just stay civil. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. So that's one kind, right? So we talk about one bad kind of respect, the dangerous kind, which is the kind most people think of when they think of respect. I did a little video on Instagram. It was a short reel on Instagram that was respect in under 1 minute. And I kind of mentioned the three that we're going to be going over here, And I had some weird comments to that, man. I had some weird comments. And some of the first ones were, well, I'm not going to show respect. Someone hadn't showed respect to me. Okay, well, that's your character that looks bad. But if I see you being disrespectful to someone else who's being disrespectful, I probably don't want to be around either one of you, right? So can't be civil. Anyway, so that's one, right? We did one bad one. We did one good one. That one was paying special attention to. Now my other one, and this is the other one that I really like and I work with little kids on a lot. The other version of respect is looking for the good in anything and everything. And people might think that sounds like an optimistic statement. Well, it's because it is, right? But if we want to have happy lives, we want to be happy with things that are going on, then we need to have a philosophy that encompasses the positive things, the things we're grateful for, the things that are good for us. And we need to be thinking about those things more often than we're thinking about the problems and the negative things. So this comes down to the last concept of respect, right? Seeing the good in whatever the situation is, however the person's acting. So if someone's being a complete jerk to me, I can see the good in that as they're telling me that I don't want to be around them, right? So that's the good part of that. Someone's being a complete jerk. All right, now I definitely know I don't want anything to do with you, right? So my version of respect in that case and seeing the good in the situation, well, I'm going to respect the fact that you obviously don't like me with the way you're talking about me, and I'm going to not be around you. Just that simple. I'm not going to bother you. I'm not going to contact you. I want nothing to do with you at that point, right?
Or, you know, they could be telling us that there's something wrong that we can help them fix.
Right, that's true too.
Right? You know, if we're looking to help others and we're seeing others as human beings,
right,
as fallible and imperfect, then we are always going to be able to look at them with a lens of, is this a situation that I can help them with?
Mm.
You know, and that makes them not have to beg to be treated with respect, because, you know, they shouldn't have to.
Well, that's true. That's true. And, you know, even if they earn that disrespect, remember that you showing disrespect is not a reflection of their character. It's a reflection of your own. I'd say that over and over and over and over again. But seeing the good in others, seeing the good in a situation, let me go back to my spider thing. I mentioned spiders earlier, and I was talking about, you know, a form of respect being, I don't like spiders, but I pay special attention to certain ones, so I know I'm not in danger or whatever. Same thing here, though. I don't have to like spiders to look for something good, or in other words, respect the fact that there are many spiders that keep the mosquitoes at bay, that keep the flies away, that get rid of other pests that I would rather not have, and I'd rather have a spider running around than 50 of those, you know. And so that's another form of respect, right? I don't have to like a spider to respect its job in the ecosystem, to respect what it does for the environment around me. And that could be said for bees. I've had this conversation with Axel many, many times. He's so terrified of wasps and bees. I think a lot of kids go through a phase of that. But at the same time, it's like, okay, well, you can be scared and you don't have to like them, but you can still look for the good and respect the fact that we wouldn't have beautiful flowers and coffee beans and stuff that we use if it weren't for the bee population, right? And even wasps have their place in keeping other pests away and certain things like that, right? So, you know, comes down to looking for the good. So, Mr. Muller, tell us about something good. Or looking for something good.
Looking for something good. I have an example or something. I don't know if it relates to this one or the last one. I'm going to give you a heads up. I told the class the last one. My brain it's done.
Yeah, I know. He's been teaching all night.
So what comes out of my mouth might not make sense. That's
okay. Nothing that comes out of my mouth makes sense.
Just know this has nothing to do with me.
Well, nothing comes out of my mouth makes sense, but people still listen.
I was going to say, like, respecting the strengths and weaknesses, because, like, whenever you're talking about sparring, both in the person you're against and yourself, and it's that's a martial arts example, but it can be used anywhere else. Being able to respect the strengths in that person or the strengths in yourself, and also your own weaknesses, because the moment you stop respecting one of those, if you stop respecting your strengths, you're going to be less confident.
And which means you're probably going to turn around and try to play your opponent's game, which they're always going to play better than you.
And then if you stop respecting the weaknesses, you're going to be overconfident. And that's going to backfire most of the time. And
that's when you do what I did during competition class Saturday, where I walked right into a punch an 11-year-old threw, right in the nose. I walk square into it
sometimes.
Yeah, because, you know, I honestly, overconfident. I was like, they'll never be able to touch me, you know.
I don't think they still hit you near as hard as the 8-year-old did with that hook kick.
Oh, yeah, no, I actually
and that still wasn't even very hard.
My eye socket got cracked by a hook kick from an 8-year-old. As I was raising the pad up, I was just too slow. I didn't think she would throw it that fast, and clipped me right in the eye socket. And I did like I always do, like, oh no, I'm fine, pretend like nothing, but it's hurting. As my body is slowly tilting down because I can't hold my balance suddenly, and I end up on the ground and the throbbing, and I was like, oh, that really hurt. And then it swelled up, and I had this, you could feel where the crack was in the side of my eye socket. Yeah, she got me. This is an 8-year-old girl. Elise.
Yeah.
Really nailed me with that hook kick.
Bragged about it the next day.
Of course you did. Yeah. And it's easy to do that when you're teaching kids. It's easy to think, oh, well, there's no way they're going to get the better of me, so I'm just going to play around with them. And then when you're playing around with them, they sneak something on you, right? Like Axel's 10, you know, my son, he's 10. You got to take him serious when you spar. I don't care how much taller than him you are. I don't care how much faster than him you are. He's got some sneaky stuff he'll pull. He's got some sneaky tactics and stuff. And I couldn't tell you how many times I thought I had him and ended up with a side kick directly in my gut or groin or leg, or like had my foot pulled out from under me because I was going for him and didn't see what he was doing. You know, like, you guys all know you sparred him. You know,
and I can argue
he may be small, but you still, and yeah, of course, we're always going to be stronger and bigger, but you got to watch, because if you're not paying good attention, he'll get you with something.
Well, and I can already tell you, the little girl who cracked your eye socket, her brother, you cannot underestimate him.
No, he's going to be the same way.
He's going to be faster than her.
Yeah, he's gonna be a lot like Axel in that regard. So you're just not going to be able to underestimate him.
He's 6 and or 7 or whatever, and I'm already like, no, I don't need to spar you.
I mean, I've had Axel from the time he was 9 or 10 a couple of times. We spar quite a bit, me and him. And I say there's been a handful of times that I straight up got baited into a side kick that nearly knocked the wind out of me. I mean, like really doubled me over. And then he would apologize. I didn't mean to get you that hard. And be like, well, you really didn't. I walked into it. Like you just baited me square into that. And it wasn't that like he was trying to hit me hard, but it ended up happening that way. You know, accidents happen sometimes. And I can't be mad at him, right? I got to respect the fact that that's his skill. And that was the game we were playing. The game we were playing involved some contact. So, you know, look for the good in it. Well, the good is that I got to work on my tactics around him. And he can handle himself all right. And I've seen him get overconfident once or twice, but because he does tournaments, he doesn't get that much overconfident because there's several tournaments he goes to and he'll fight kids twice his height, like twice his reach. And so, you know, he still loses matches. And so he hasn't really fallen into that overconfidence too much yet.
Humility is a good thing.
Yeah. And I think he maintains that because he does competitions, and he doesn't win every competition, you know. It all depends on who else is there and what their skills are. And there are other kids that can do what he does out there. You know, we go to some of the top level competitions and there's kids out there that even he gets a little nervous to get in the ring with. And he's not normally nervous to fight anybody, including adults. Yeah. All right. So there you go. That's all the respect things. So we talked about the most dangerous version of respect. Okay. I wasn't talking about MMA. The most dangerous version of respect is the thing most people think of as respect, which is holding someone to a high esteem on a pedestal. That is very, very dangerous. And when a lot of people go, well, I'm not going to show respect if they haven't earned it. This is the version of respect that they're talking about. They're talking about the holding someone else to a higher esteem. And honestly, I don't agree with that. So they say martial arts teaches respect. No, martial arts teaches humility, and humility breeds respect, but not the kind of respect that puts someone on a pedestal, because martial arts also brings confidence, right? What martial arts teaches respect-wise is it teaches them to pay special attention to things. So when they're sparring and they're learning all these things and they're gaining that confidence, they're also gaining humility. And the kind of respect they learn is the kind of respect that means I'm going to pay special attention to this kid's feet because he's got quick feet. I'm going to pay special attention to her back fist because she's real slick and sneaky with that back fist. I'm going to pay special attention to this one's round kicks because her round kicks are faster than a lot of guys' jabs, you know. That's the kind of respect that you learn first in martial arts, right? Is to pay special attention to something, especially if it's a threat. So we don't talk about holding anyone to a higher esteem, but it seems like every time we talk about respect online, that's the first place people go. They think we're talking about holding someone on a pedestal. No, when we're talking about respect, we are not talking about that kind of respect. That kind of respect is dangerous for both people involved.
It's not fair.
It's not fair. And even the person on the pedestal then often feels this obligation to try to act like they are somehow a better person than they are, or act like they are somehow something that they are not. And then they get afraid of slipping up. They get afraid of not living up to this other person's standards of what they are. And we shouldn't be living to other people's standards of who we are. We should be living to our own standard, right?
Or it allows a not so great person to take advantage
of someone who is looking up to them, right? Which I've had people try to do to me, but I am one of those people that if I get the sense that someone's trying to push me into something, even if it is a good thing for me, I shut down.
He does it to me.
I do. I shut down and let me process this. Let me think it all the way through in 10,000 ways. Then I'll come back to you, right? But if I feel like you're trying to push me into something, I refuse to commit to it until I've really had time to fully analyze the situation, right? So, no, the types of respect we're talking about, paying special attention to something, like I already mentioned, looking for the good in things and looking for the good in the situation and others, right? Someone can be a complete jerk to me, but I can look for the good. And this leads to de-escalation tactics. So we were talking about that kids' active safety that we hold. We teach them some techniques and principles, but one of the main things we talk about is awareness, paying attention so you can avoid being around a situation. Or if you are stuck in a situation, using your courtesy and respect to get out of it. And I don't mean respect as in holding that person on a pedestal. What I mean is, let me give an example I like to give. Not that long ago, there was a guy that blocked our whole parking lot off with this huge RV, right? And it was right before classes were going to start, and we were going to have a ton of traffic pulling through. So I went to talk to him and ask him nicely if he could move his RV. And he flipped out on me. He was very unhappy. And, you know, he was really disrespectful and getting in my face about it. And I kind of let him go on and on for a minute. And I was trying to think, oh, how can I calm this guy down? You know what I mean? Because I need him to move the vehicle. The angrier he gets, the less likely I'm going to be to get the vehicle moved without issue. So after a little bit, he kind of stops talking. And I was looking at his RV and I noticed how clean it was. And I, look for the good in things. So I looked at him. I just completely changed the conversation. I was like, by the way, you keep that clean, man. Like, I really like how clean you keep it. Like, what kind of wax you use, And just, he got to talk, stopped. And then he got to talk about, he's proud of it. He obviously did keep it clean. He got talking about all the stuff he does, keep it nice and all this, that. And I said, well, look, hey, man, the reason I want you to move is that I'm afraid some of these crazy drivers we got come in here are going to come around here. They're going to slam right into the back of your RV. They're going to be walking through it, scratch it up. They're going to be mad it's blocking out their parking spots, and someone's going to key it. I don't want any of that to happen to you, so it might just be better if you move it. Now, all of a sudden, it was a totally different tone. Yeah, I guess you're right. Like, where's a good place I can park it? Hey, you can head right on up this hill here. There's a great, you can park it right on the side of the hill. There's hardly any traffic that goes up there. It'll be fine up there, right? And then boom, handled, right? That's using respect to de-escalate a situation. I didn't put him on a pedestal. I didn't look up to him in some way or think that he had to earn my respect in some way. What I did was looked for the good in the situation, which was, oh, look at that clean RV. That's a good thing to talk about. And I made him talk about something that he enjoys. And yes, manipulation. It's manipulation. Respect, as in the part that I'm talking about here, looking for the good in things, is a way that you can manipulate people's emotions. You can manipulate them to calm down. Now, if you're a complete jerk, you can also manipulate them to get angry. So this is one of those things you got to use properly, right? You got to use with good intentions in mind. But you can use that concept of looking for the good in order to calm people down about things, and that can help you a lot. If not, stop the person from wanting to hurt you. There's been a couple times I've used this same kind of tactic with someone that really was wanting to hurt me. And at the very least, it may not stop them from wanting to hurt you, but you'll confuse the tar out of them, right? So I had another guy trap me in a bathroom one time at a bar wanting to knock my head off over something that got misheard. And so looking for the good, right? I just tried to be nice in my tone and kind to the guy and kind of mentioned that he had the situation wrong, told him what really happened, and it was close enough to what he thought happened that he got really confused. You could see it in his look, like angry red eyes, and then he tilts his head. And while he's confused and staring at me, I just walked away from him. And he was still in that confusion mode, so he couldn't decide in that split second whether to hit me or not. He wanted to hit me. Had I just walked away, he probably would have swung. But because I said something that was different from what he had in his mind, and I said it nicely, it confused him for a split second. And when his facial expression changed to confusion, I just calmly walked past him. And he didn't take a swing because in that split second, he was still confused about what just happened. And he wasn't going to take a swing until he just really thought he was in the right. And now all of a sudden he wasn't sure, right? So you can use these things to your advantage and avoid situations altogether. I think it can be argued that is the highest form of martial arts. That the highest form of martial arts has nothing to do with physical capability. The highest form, because physical capability, physical fights, what are we doing? We're manipulating our opponent to give us openings. We're manipulating them to lose their balance. We're manipulating them into traps, right? But if we can do that verbally, without need of any of that skill, in my opinion, that's the top echelons of martial arts.
And the thing is the word manipulation has a bad connotation, but manipulating something is just maneuvering it to change the
perspective
result.
And to change the perspective, which is what Brandy mentions. Can I manipulate my own emotions towards others? I think I need help on that one. Absolutely you can. It is absolutely not easy though. It requires a shift in perspective, and it starts with this concept of respect we were just talking about, looking for the good. So how can you shift your emotions? Well, maybe you don't like somebody, maybe you're angry at them. The first thing to do is look at, is there anything good about them? Have they ever done anything good in their lives? Do they do any good work for others? Do they do anything good for others? Are they good at something, right? Or even, are you grateful for something they've done for you in the past? Are you grateful for something they said to you? Or if nothing else, are you grateful they showed you who they really are so that you know to avoid them, right? And you have to look from a place of being grateful, and you have to look from a place of looking for the good. And that will slowly shift your perspective. The more you practice it and the more you do it, it'll shift your perspective to generally seeing the good side of things And once you start to see the good side of things, it becomes easier to actually essentially manipulate your own emotions. So I've talked about this a lot in regards to bipolar and other things. A lot of people are slaves to their emotions, right? But it's your brain, most people, normal people, neurotypical people, it's your brain that creates the emotion. And yet people often become slaves to their emotions because they don't bother trying to control their brain. They don't bother trying to control what they think. Instead, they react to the things going on around them. And then those reactions build their perception, build their emotions. And then they lean heavily into those emotions, which are often negative, right? So the trick is to switch from reacting to responding, right? So if someone is angry, mean, does something I don't like, or otherwise, and if I react to it, I'm probably going to react from a place of anger. I'm going to react from a place of frustration. I'm going to react from a place of a lack of patience and acceptance, right? But if I take a second to respond, so I look at patience and trying to accept things for what it is, accept that they're upset, and that them being upset doesn't have to make me upset, and then look for something good in the situation, look for something I'm grateful for in the situation or about that person, then it shifts my brain away from thinking, oh, I need to be mad and I need to match this guy's emotion, to instead going, well, I think I want to look at it from this direction and feel this emotion instead. And that's the way that you can manipulate your own emotions. I'm not saying it's easy. It's one of the hardest things in the world to change from being reactive to your surroundings to being responsive to your surroundings thoughtfully. So it requires, I know I'm going to use a keyword here that everybody's going to at, but it requires mindfulness. It requires you to actually pay special attention to each and every one of your thoughts. It requires you to catch those thoughts and go, why am I thinking this way? Why am I letting them and their actions put me in this frame of mind that I don't want to be in? Make me think these thoughts that I don't want to think and feel these things I don't want to feel. Instead, let me change the way I think about this. Let me change the way I'm looking at this. Let me look for something I'm grateful for. Let me look for something good in the situation. Let me look for something like that. Maybe I can de-escalate the situation with that. And then my emotions on top of that are going to feel better, right? Now, not mine. I should put a caveat to that, because I mentioned earlier, I have bipolar disorder and a couple other things that go along with it that make this just a cacophony of interesting things. But that's the difference with me. So neurotypical people, your brain can control your emotions. It's just whether are you mindful enough to make the change to do it, or are you going to stay reactive to the same patterns you've done your entire life? Because when you're reactive, you're acting off old patterns that you built when you were young, when you were a kid, when you were a teenager, when you were a young adult, and you're continuing to use those same patterns, which is why you're continuing to fall into the same pattern of negative emotions, right? But if you can change that pattern of thinking through mindfulness and paying attention to your thoughts all the time, which is very difficult, then you can change the way you feel about them, right? So neurotypicals, your brain controls your emotions. Someone with bipolar doesn't work that way. Your brain kind of, the chemical centers of your brain kind of do what they want. They dump all the chemicals at once. So you can be doing something that makes you happy and suddenly become excruciatingly sad, like in tears sad, right? Because the brain dumped the chemicals that were supposed to be happy chemicals, but then they dumped way too much and it cranks you over into the sad zone, right? And then you don't know why you're sad. Or same thing, happy, angry, right? So I'm not saying that everybody can control their emotions in that way. There are people, right, that have legitimate disorders, mood disorders and things along those lines, where even controlling their thoughts doesn't control it, right? So many times I've been in tears about something, knowing the right way to look at it, looking at it from the right perspective and going, I should be happy about this. This is a good thing. There's nothing wrong with this. Why am I in tears? Well, I'm in tears because my brain sent me the wrong chemicals for the thoughts I was having. But that's part of bipolar, and you feel it very extremely. Part of bipolar is having those full chemical dumps where when a normal person feels mildly inconvenienced, the bipolar person might feel mildly inconvenienced, might be surprisingly happy at the outcome, or might be explosively angry at it, right? Like you never really know where a bipolar person is going to land on the scale, which is why treatment of bipolar is all about finding balance dead in the center of the emotion so you don't have too much sway one way or another.
Yes.
You look like you want to say something.
Like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I think as far as the vast majority of people go, as far as neurotypicals, to be mindful, it really takes, and this is another trigger warning, it takes you pulling your ego out of the way.
Yeah, it takes a lot of focus.
I know people don't like hearing this, but not everything is about you.
Yeah.
Not everything's about you. Not everything's about me. Not everything's about him.
You have to zoom out. Like,
or him.
Yeah, you have to zoom out. So if it's like a particular conversation with one person just for ease, right? Maybe you say something makes me mad or whatever. You have to zoom out. Instead of looking at it directly from your perspective, you have to zoom out and imagine a third person looking at this. And then if you're that third person, what could you say in that situation that would make that third person see you as the person who's doing good here, right? Or back it out even farther and go, is this something worth losing a relationship over? Is this something worth being mad more than 5 minutes about? Is this something that's going to matter in 6 months or 3 months even? Or let's face it, most of the things we explode about, are they going to matter in a week, right?
Or even a couple of hours.
Or even a couple of hours, right? I talk to my kids about that when they get upset. If they get upset about losing something, I'm like, who's gonna remember who won this game 10 minutes from now? Is anyone going to remember? I'm not going to remember. I don't think the people who won it are going to remember. I don't think anyone's going to remember who won this game. And so it's really not worth being upset about. But that involves zooming out. Like you're saying, zooming out, view it from a different perspective than your own. Try to imagine things from other people's shoes. Try to imagine like you're watching what's happening on a TV screen rather than participating. And then ask yourself, if you're watching it on a TV screen and the person who is you is the hero of the show, what do you want to see the hero do, right? How do you want to see the hero act? Look at it from out there. Well, this is the way I'd like to see a hero act. Okay, then come back into yourself and act that way, right? Act like you'd want to see the hero act.
Yep. So we just gave you a ton of stuff on respect. Like,
right.
We gave you a ton to digest. But we've been on here for almost 45 minutes.
I know, it's been way too long.
So much to digest. So it is time for us to do our contest winners.
Thank you. They shut me up. Nanny, you didn't say much.
So this was for our comment and review contest. We only ran it for about 11 days or so.
$100 cash. $100 cash to the top 3 people.
Yes. And so we had in a resounding first of top 3 places, Mr. Palmer.
Mr. Braden.
Mr. Braden.
Yeah, he went through our TikTok page, and I mean, I think he commented on every single video we posted since day one.
Did the same thing with Facebook. He went back a really long way. All I have to say is this is his column, and
it's a very long column. Yeah.
It goes. Those are my tally marks.
Braden, I know you wanted that $100. There you go.
Miss Virginia and Miss Brandy.
This Brandy?
Mitchell.
Miss Brandy, who's watching, she got one.
Yes.
And then Miss Virginia.
Yes, Miss Virginia.
Yeah, I always love when Miss Virginia comments on things because she often sparks conversation. Yeah, no, it's good stuff. I always like seeing her comments.
And of course, you can do cash, or if
you want to put it towards your
tuition
or whatever, you can message Miss Rose about that.
Talk to me about it.
But either way, I'll go to the bank soon and make sure we have
just let us know what you want to do so we know what we need.
Yeah.
So
sounds good.
That's all.
All right, talk too long. It's Mr. Muller's bedtime.
It's past his bedtime.
He's poor guy.
It's too late.
This guy's had a summer, man. Like hit with you've been busy.
He was in Italy for 6 weeks and then he came back and he's been full time since he came back, and so he needs to go to
No. He had 2 jobs last week.
Well, yeah, no, he did, but that was neither here nor there. He had civic duty to do.
Civic duty, yes.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for tagging along for the last approximately 45 minutes. Until we see you again, be the best teammate you can be.
And be the best at being you. Hey, I don't know how to turn this off on this.